In this video, I'm going to explain to you the single biggest problem in all of software development. It's how the most time gets wasted and how the most money gets wasted, and it may even be one of the hardest things to do right. Let me start by explaining what a business analyst is so that everyone can understand. This is so important because I'll tell you it's a problem in 100% of software projects. And I had a recent situation of a business person who was creating a multi-million dollar software, and despite urging from his tech lead to get a business analyst, he did not. And that tech lead and all development is suffering in the company and will continue to because of this decision. In fact, it will hurt the business person more than anyone else, and he doesn't even know it or understand why. So let me explain. Imagine you were speaking with a visionary painter who could no longer paint. Maybe he lost his hands or whatever. But he can see in his mind a painting that would be worth $100 million if produced properly. This is the business person. And imagine that the most skilled painter in the world is going to paint it. Let's say he's a developer. But the painter speaks a different language than the visionary. And there's a business analyst that speaks the visionary's language and somewhat so the painter's language. Now, assuming that everyone in the picture has a big payday if it goes well, it's obviously in the best interest for everyone to try to capture that painting as best as possible. The first half of what a business analyst's job is to ask a million questions, the right questions, to understand what the painting looks like or should look like. The second half is to try to transmit that information effectively to the painter. So, what would a business analyst do? He would need to start asking questions. Should the painting have a sun in it? Yes? Okay. Where is the sun? Near the top right? Okay. How many inches from the top right of the painting should the right part of the sun be? Okay. How many inches from the top of the painting should the top part of the sun be? Okay. What should be the diameter of the sun? Okay. What's the color of the sun? Is it a solid color or variations of yellow? What should be the color codes for the different yellow variations? Should it be a circle or should it have rays coming out of it? How many rays should there be? Should each go out the same distance from the perimeter of the sun? I can go on and on for another 100 questions about just the sun to learn exactly how it should look, and the more detail oriented, the better. But once I finish asking all the questions about the sun, I might ask if there's a mountain, followed by 100 questions about that, and if there are animals, and so on and so forth. As you can see, for a painting, there are so many questions to ask about every little detail that you would never think about. But it's very easy to get it wrong, and if any of those questions are missed, then it's going to be a problem. And software is 1,000 times more complicated than a painting. The better the business analyst is, the more right questions they'll ask and the more precise questions they'll ask. And then the better they take notes that accurately describe what the visionary had in mind, the higher the chance that the painting will turn out accurately. And if we want to make this more accurate to software, imagine that at the beginning, the visionary has maybe 10% of the painting in their mind, and the remaining 90% needs to be fleshed out and discovered by the business analyst asking the right questions. If this step is not done right and fully, then everything else after that will be off the mark. The painting will be incomplete or inaccurate. I'll give you a funny personal situation here. I've been doing business analysis so long and I'm so used to asking so many precise questions that when I'm talking with my wife about almost anything, a million questions start popping into my head about all of these tiny little details. So to avoid driving her crazy, I need to consciously turn off that switch in my brain to not ask all the questions that my brain just starts coming up with. Now, lastly, I'm going to tie this into the last part of what I do beyond just business analysis. Imagine if the business analyst also had years spent as a painter. Then he would also know the right terms to use to describe different strokes or techniques to use to get it just right. And he would use those terms in conveying the notes or the specs to the painter, the developer. so that the painter knows exactly what to paint and how to paint it. That's where my added expertise as a software engineer comes into the picture, and why I've been able to consistently produce on-point software quickly. I hope this brought you value.